My dad coldly said, "Don't expect help." I thought I was doomed. But then my CFO called, and what happened next with the IPO changed everything overnight, beyond belief. I grew up in a household where money was rarely a topic, and even less so help or support. My dad, a man of strong principles and even stronger stubbornness, always drilled into me the idea that the world owed me nothing. "Don't expect help," he would say, usually after I asked him for guidance or advice about something important. At the time, I thought he was just being harsh, maybe even unfair. But I didn't realize how much that advice would shape my life, especially when everything I had worked for seemed to teeter on the edge of collapse. I had spent the last 5 years building my startup from scratch. What began as a small software consultancy had grown into a tech platform that many in the industry believed had potential to revolutionize digital marketing analytics. I had poured every ounce of my energy, every sleepless night, and every dollar I had saved into this venture. It wasn't just my job, it was my identity, my dream, my life. But despite the growth, the market was brutal. Investors were skeptical, and most days felt like I was running in place. The day started like any other. I had an early meeting with a potential client who could have been a turning point for us. But it went poorly. They were polite, but their interest was lukewarm, and by noon, I felt that sinking weight of doubt settling in my chest. I tried to shake it off, convincing myself that setbacks were normal, that persistence was key. But deep down, I was afraid that all my hard work was going to end in failure, that my dream would evaporate, leaving me with nothing but regret. I decided to call my dad during my lunch break. Not for financial help, God knows he would have scoffed at that, but for some form of guidance, for a bit of clarity. The conversation started predictably. I outlined my concerns, told him about the client meeting, and then hesitated before telling him about the financial pressures that were beginning to mount. "Don't expect help," he said, his tone as firm as ever. "You're on your own. If you need someone to rescue you, you'll only end up weaker. You've built this yourself. You'll survive yourself, or you'll fail trying, and both are okay. But you'll never learn if you expect a lifeline." I hung up feeling simultaneously deflated and strangely motivated. It was the push I needed, even if I didn't know it yet. His words burned into my brain. Don't expect help. No bailout. No rescue. No easy exit. Only me. That afternoon, I sat in my small office staring at my computer screen, trying to find a solution to a problem I had been avoiding. We were in the middle of preparing for our IPO. Months of paperwork, audits, and negotiations had led us to this point. But there were still hurdles. Regulatory approvals were slow, investor confidence was fragile, and my team was tired, bone deep tired from long nights and relentless pressure. Just as I was about to call it a day and drown my frustration in a cup of coffee, my phone rang. The screen showed a number I didn't immediately recognize, but I answered out of curiosity. "Hello? Is this my name?" A calm, professional voice asked. "This is Jonathan Myers, CFO of Horizon Capital. I understand you're preparing for an IPO?" My heart skipped a beat. I had been in contact with Horizon Capital in the past, but nothing had come through yet. This could be another routine call, another polite decline. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Yes, that's correct. How can I help you?" There was a pause on the other end, as if he was weighing something. "I've reviewed your filings and financials. I must say, I'm impressed. Horizon is interested in accelerating your IPO, possibly moving it up by a full quarter. This could change everything for your company overnight." I blinked, unsure if I had heard correctly. Moving the IPO up? That was the single thing that could save us from financial instability and validate the years of work. I tried to suppress the surge of excitement, knowing I had to remain professional. That's incredible news," I said carefully. "Can you explain what would be required to make that happen?" Jonathan went on to outline the specifics: additional documentation, a few adjustments to our valuation estimates, and immediate approval from our internal legal teams. It wasn't trivial, but it was possible. And more importantly, it was real. For the first time in months, I felt a tangible spark of hope. I ended the call, heart racing, and immediately called my team. They were skeptical at first. I couldn't blame them, but after I detailed the conversation, I could see their energy shift. The exhaustion on their faces didn't vanish, but a spark of excitement took root. Overnight, our office, usually quiet by PM, buzzed with renewed purpose. People who had been resigned to the grind now worked with a kind of desperate optimism. The next few days were a blur. We were scrambling to comply with Horizon's accelerated timeline. Legal documents flew across desks. Accountants triple-checked reports. And I spent hours on calls with the CFO, ironing out the minutiae. Stress levels were high, tempers frayed. And yet, for the first time in weeks, I felt alive. There was a tangible sense that we were on the verge of something big, and it was exhilarating. When the IPO finally launched, the response was overwhelming. The demand for our shares exceeded expectations within hours. Our valuation jumped higher than our projections, and media outlets began covering our story. Investors who had been hesitant were now clamoring for access. The overnight transformation was as surreal as it was thrilling. What had seemed like a distant dream was suddenly a reality. Amid all the chaos, I couldn't stop thinking about my dad. His words, so simple, so austere, had pushed me. That evening, after the markets closed and the excitement had settled slightly, I called my dad again. I didn't know if he would be pleased or indifferent. He rarely showed emotion in ways I could interpret. "Dad," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "the IPO went live today. It went better than I ever imagined." There was a pause, longer than usual, and then his gruff voice came through. "I knew you could do it. You just needed to stop expecting help and start trusting yourself." I laughed quietly, a mixture of relief, disbelief, and gratitude. "You were right, as usual." He chuckled on the other end, which, for him, was almost an emotional outpouring. "Now you'll see. Every challenge, every setback, every sleepless night, it wasn't just for the company. It was for you, to prove you can survive without a crutch. And believe me, there will be more challenges ahead. But if you've handled this, you can handle anything." Hanging up, I looked around my office. The same space that had felt suffocating and overwhelming just days before now seemed full of possibility. The hum of the computers, the scattered paperwork, the tired but determined faces of my team, it all felt like a symphony of effort, ambition, and success. Over the next weeks, our company adjusted to its new reality. Investors remained enthusiastic, partnerships expanded, and the media coverage brought in talent that we hadn't even considered recruiting before. The financial security that had once felt like a distant dream was now tangible. And through it all, one lesson remained crystal clear. Expecting help from others is a luxury most people can't afford in the business world or in life. True growth, true achievement, comes from pushing yourself beyond your limits, from facing adversity head on, and from trusting in your own abilities when no one else will. Looking back, I realized that my dad's tough-love approach wasn't cruelty, it was preparation. He knew that in life, relying on others too much can stunt personal growth. He knew that failure, when faced alone, teaches lessons that success never can. And he knew that when the right opportunity arrives, you have to be ready to seize it, because no one is going to hand it to you. The IPO was more than just a financial milestone. It was a personal victory, proof of resilience, and validation of years of sacrifice. And it was a reminder that sometimes the harshest advice, "don't expect help," is exactly what you need to hear to push yourself to greatness. Now, whenever I face a new challenge, I hear his words echoing in my mind, and I smile, knowing that, no matter what, I have everything I need within myself to overcome it. Because sometimes, help doesn't come from others. Sometimes, it comes from realizing that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. And sometimes it arrives exactly when you stop expecting it and start earning it.